3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Camping with Wade's RV. I'm your host, Willy D, joined every Sunday morning from 9 to 9:30 with Carly Rush. Thank you for joining me this week.
Happy to be here.
It's been a interesting week this week now, hasn't it?
Interesting is not a good word for what this week. It's been, could I say maybe hell?
Yeah, I would say absolutely horrible, hellific. Yeah, something. It's been absolutely very weird and very, very cold. But if you tuned into Camping with Wade's RV last week, you knew exactly how to make sure that your camper was prepared for all of this coldness and exactly what was going to come with that.
So if people want to find that show.
If they want to find that show, you can get on YouTube and you can look up either Sport Chassis Guy. I have them all on my channel, which has a little bit of bronc riding, Sport Chassis, Wade's RV. It's got a little of everything. Or you can go over to Wade's RV's YouTube, and it has tons of RV information over there. And it has every single episode of Camping with Wade's RV with me and Carly Rush. And we even have a couple guest stars every once in a while.
Awesome.
A couple weeks ago, we had Brenda Puckett. That was really great from Girl Camper. Always good to have her on. And so we got to learn a little bit about Girl Camper. I also have reps come on the show. So Rocky from Riverstone has been on. That was a really great episode, and a couple of the other folks. So if you haven't checked out any of that, you definitely need to get on YouTube and go ahead and take a look. But we're going to go ahead and get on with this week's episode. And this week is going to be a little bit of a special episode. So at Wade's RV, we sell RVs. We also sell sport chassis. We also sell anything that we get in on trade. So we sell a lot of stuff over there. And we're going to talk about sport chassis.
Okay.
Today.
You see the questioning look in my eye.
I can absolutely see it.
No idea what a sport chassis is.
So a sport chassis is a heavy-duty pickup truck. A lot of people think it looks like a mini semi-truck, basically.
Oh.
But it really is a heavy-duty pickup truck, and that's how it's classified. You don't have to have any special licensing or anything like that, so it makes it really easy for getting around town. And I used to live at the good old University Club downtown, and I used to drive one home almost every single day. And so living downtown, it made it really easy to drive around. Everyone definitely was staring at me as I was going down the road.
Sure, because that probably looked like it belonged out in the country, maybe?
Sometimes, but it's a show truck. Shaq actually has one that he uses as a daily driver every single day. So it's a specialty vehicle. I see a lot of State Farm agents, they have, those red Jeeps that are lifted and they have their name on the side.
Yeah.
If you had a red sport chassis with your name on the side, you'd really stand out in the crowd. So there's lots of different options for it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because this week I was supposed to be riding Bronx last night, and it got canceled. And so whenever I go to the rodeo, Sport Chassis lets me bring those trucks, and it definitely gets a lot of eyes, and that's why we bring it to the rodeo. And so since that stuff got canceled, I figured we'd just go ahead and talk a little bit about Sport Chassis. And like I said, I do bring them to the events, but there's a reason, and it's because it's very useful. So whenever you're towing with that truck itself, it has a tow rating of 30,000 pounds.
So you can tow something really big and heavy.
You can tow something very big and heavy, or you can bring a lot of horses, a lot of bulls. That's what we're doing typically, but you're going to be able to manage that load. And for me, my passion with sport chassis is pretty interesting. You said, you'd expect to see that kind of out in the country, and that's where I got my start with them, was out in the country and actually using them out on the farm and out on the ranch. One of my good buddies, Landon, he's owned one for years, and we would actually, whenever we were going out on the town, we would actually take one down Brookside, and there's a reason we took it, and it wasn't because we were hauling equipment. It was to get all those girls to be looking at us.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, so
I guessed that one.
It definitely got us some eyes. We definitely had a few people that we were able to take around the town and see exactly what the sport chassis life was all about. And these things are decked out on the inside. They're not just cool on the outside. They have super fantastic interiors. They have TVs. They're as big as your monitor in the back. It has subwoofers in there, tons of insulation. And so you're not going to be hearing things when you're going down the road. You're not going to hear those big trucks. You're not going to be hearing that wind. You're really just going to be able to enjoy the ride. And that's where I got my start with it, was I was going down the road. We'd be hauling different things. We'd be going out on the town. Landon, he actually has a company where he's pulling big tractors and stuff because he does a lot of that mowing on the turnpike. And so we'd be going around moving tractors, working on them. And I was like, man, this thing's pretty cool. Well, his dad happens to be Randy Sloan, which is our general manager. And he said, hey, Willie, guess what? And I came into the office, and that's kind of a loaded question whenever I get asked that. But he told me that, hey, we're actually going to become a sport chassis dealer. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool.
When can I have mine?
That's exactly what I thought. When can I get in the steering wheel and drive one of these brand spanking new ones? And the answer was not too long. I think we had one within a couple days. And my passion just really, developed to that next level. And I started learning about them a little bit more and more, aside from, man, this is cool, and it's got a big, speaker in the back, and it's got cool TVs. I mean, that's awesome, but, what's the point of it? And so I got to really dive deep into it. And then I also got to go to the actual factory, which was really cool. And these are built in Clinton, Oklahoma. So it's not that far down the road. Yes, it's built in Clinton, Oklahoma. It's only about, it takes me about 3 hours from whenever I'm in Tulsa to get down there to Clinton. If you're in the city, it takes about an hour to get down there, but these are very much built by hand, and they're built in Oklahoma, which I absolutely love. I like to get behind Oklahoma made products, and it made it just that much easier to love and have a passion for. So whenever I got down there to the actual factory, it was interesting because I thought, man, this is a heavy-duty truck, but the construction of the vehicle itself was totally different. The standards that they have there are absolutely incredible. I'll just use this example. So they make all of the pieces by hand. So if it's on the bed and it looks like it's, maybe fiberglass, it's not. It's actually all aluminum. So they bend this, they weld these, they put all these individual pieces together, and then they make it look like it's totally seamless. And that's where you get that look that makes it look like it's fiberglass. But whenever you go into the paint booth, all these trucks, they come in very stripped down. So whenever they come into the factory, they're going to have a seat, they're going to have a instrument cluster, and obviously your pedal and your brake. Other than that, there's really not much in there. They even take out the steering wheel and they put just a really dinky one on there. And so when they come in with that, and then they, of course, come in with a paint job, but nothing else on this truck whatsoever.
So that tells me it's really customizable.
It's very customizable, and they build them from scratch, basically. So it starts out on that M2 Freightliner chassis, and whenever it comes into the factory, the first thing they do is they look at that paint job on there. And you would think that, hey, this is a brand new truck coming from the factory. It's going to be up to standards. And the first thing I thought was, chips and scratches, but that's not what they're looking for at all. They're looking at the quality within the paint itself to see exactly how reflective it is with the clear coats and also just the paint base itself. And if you can't stand, I think it's like 7 feet away, and you have this board and you have to read, what the board says inside the reflection. So it's kind of an old school test, but it works. And so if you can't read that, then they actually go in, they strip the truck down, and they respray it. So it does actually come up not just only to that Freightliner standard, but to that Sport Chassis standard, because Sport Chassis is a division of Freightliner. And so it's a manufactured product. It's not just something that you built in your garage. All these other trucks like Summit Hauler or, the other customizable M2 chassis out there, while they are cool, they may have gator skin in the seat. They may have a little extra light here or there. They're not a sport chassis. And so whenever you go to sell that truck, it has no value aside from what maybe you want to spend on it or your neighbor wants to spend on it. Essentially, Jim just went in his garage and got an M2 and just started building. And that's what you're going to have with that product versus the sport chassis, which is a division of Freightliner. It actually has that NADA value. So for one, whenever banks go to loan on it, that's the Bible of values whenever it comes to cars, RVs, motorcycles, boats. That's the base. That's what people base everything on. And so whenever you're buying it brand new, they have something to base it on. But also whenever you go around to resale it, you're going to have that to base on as well. And so it is a very, very special truck. And that's some of the stuff that you'll see whenever you go through this factory is just the differences that it makes from start to finish. They make the steps, they make the interior. And whenever we talk about the interior, it's not that they just go in and they put the fancy speakers. They actually make the actual plastics for the roof, for those door panels, for those center consoles. They make all of that, and they make it for a lot of different companies as well. So if you've ever been inside a school bus, they make the dashboards and stuff for that. If you've been in an RV at all, they probably made the dashboard for that. So they're really good at making these pieces, but that's, how in depth they go with making every single piece. I mean, even the steering wheel, they go through and customize that. So it makes it really cool. And whenever you come to Wade's RV, we have multiple different colors, and if there isn't the color that you're looking for, we can get it, and it makes it really easy with with Sport Chassis and Freightliner. We just have to make a very simple call. If you want, let's say, a Onyx edition with all blacked out, you want the Gator steps, you want all the really cool stuff. That's cool, perfect. I'll get you a black truck. I'll send it over to the factory, get all that stuff customized on there, and I'll have it sitting at Wade's RV next week for you.
Nice.
So it makes it very easy. If we don't have what you're looking for, we can get it, and we start them. All these trucks that are all around the country, they all it's kind of like a car lot. If there's an F-150 here in Kansas, we can get that sort of thing. And but we all start them out as a very base package. They don't necessarily have the TVs in there. They're all pre-wired for the TV, but you might not necessarily want that multi-$1,000 package. You might not want the snow chains versus the next customer who does. And so we all start them out on that package, and you can just build up past that. So they have options like the drop-down TV. They have options like the snow chains. So it's really cool. That would have been super handy this past week.
You are not kidding.
It's air activated, and so you click a button and these snow chains come out and throw themselves underneath the tires, so you don't even have to wrap
put them on.
Exactly. It takes care of it. It's very much
convenient.
like a school bus if you're familiar with that setup. And so they have options like that. They have side view cameras, so whenever you click your turn signal, you can see all the way around you. You can put satellite dishes on there so you can watch the games. Customizable toolboxes, whatever you want to put on there, they can make it happen. And if you're a customer and you're wanting to go up there, you can make the trip. It's really cool, and it gives me a great excuse to get out of the dealership is whenever I have a Sport Chassis customer and they want to go to Clinton, Oklahoma. So if you want to go to that Sport Chassis factory and you're interested in one of these trucks, we can actually get you a tour. And if I can't go up there with you, we will actually have a representative up there that can walk you through and kind of show you all of this great stuff that I'm talking about. And once you do, it really turns you into a believer. I was telling John, he was a customer that we took up there, and he goes, I like seeing it. I like feeling it. I've towed with the truck, and he just really wanted to see those nuts and bolts. And it was like me whenever I started selling them. I knew it was a cool truck. I knew it had a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque, but, help me sell this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make me a believer where I actually have a passion behind it. And that's what you really get whenever you see all the details that they put inside this product, is you see the passion that they have behind the product, and it really makes it easy to sell itself. And I'm proud to say, Wade's RV, we were the number 2 Sport Chassis dealership last year. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm kind of salty about that because we only got beat out by 2 trucks, I think is what it was. So I was a little upset, but we got a good jump on this next year because we sold a couple right out the gate, so it was really cool. And another thing is, if you're involved in the rodeo community or even like the motocross community or anything that's involved up at the Lazy E, we're actually a official sponsor of the Lazy E Arena. And so if you're up there, you can always stop by and see us. You can always see one of the trucks. I go to almost every single event up there from now until April. And if I'm up there, I always have the keys, so you can actually get out there and test drive it.
Oh, nice.
That's a great thing about is actually, seeing how it works, but actually using it and feeling how it works. That's really going to help make a believer out of you as well.
Tell me about the type of customer for a Sport Chassis.
So the type of customer, it really appeals to so many different people. If you have a 1-ton, I would say you're a Sport Chassis customer. And the reason why, most people think recreational, like with your motocrosses or your rodeos, stuff like that. But really commercially, if you're moving around heavy equipment, you have a construction company, anything where you're moving that heavy weight, this is the truck for you. And the reason why is there's so many things that it just does differently than that 1-ton. And I'll start out with the handling. So whenever you're handling these heavy loads, you're obviously jointed to your trailer. So there, if you get a little bounce, it'll transfer all the way up through your truck. Well, if you have 30,000 pounds, I'm no specialist in math by any means. You can ask all of my teachers at Union High School, where I went to school. But I was no math wizard whatsoever, but I do have a little common sense. I am proud to say I've, gained a little of that through the years. But if you have 30,000 pounds behind you and you're towing it with 7,000 pounds and you hit a bump in the road, what is going to be controlling what? I think the 30,000 pounds is going to be controlling that 7 a little bit more.
It's definitely going to.
That's where you're going to feel that shake, and I call it that shimmy and shake whenever you're going down the road and you get a little bit of that bump because it transfers from that first axle all the way up to your steering wheel. With that Sport Chassis, it's going to hit the curb at about 13,000 pounds. And with it sitting at that weight, it's almost double what that 1-ton is. And so it's going to handle that weight so much better. And then also just with the profile, it's going to be just a little bit longer and a little bit wider than that 1-ton, which will make it easy for it to actually handle that load. Also, it has counterweights on there. whenever you have that counterweight and you're driving around and it's empty, it's not going to be as bumpy whenever you go, you're just going around town, cruising downtown. Like I said, I was living downtown and I drove one almost every single day. It was awesome and I loved it. But it was because I didn't get that shaking whenever I was driving empty or whenever I was driving loaded. I went to a G-Money rodeo and we were bringing some horses and I rode in that 1-ton truck and I said, we are not doing this again, brother. We are not. We are
so
taking a sport chassis.
So it really made that much of a difference between
Absolutely.
a 1-ton and a sport chassis.
It's a huge difference. And we were only going like 30 miles down the road. If you can imagine, if you're doing this every single day and you're talking about 8 hours, 10 hours, it's going to take a lot of that, I would say, jet lag or truck lag out of this situation, because whenever you get to your destination, you're not going to be worn out because you're not going to be having to work to drive that truck. The truck is going to be working for you and doing the job that that tool is supposed to do. And so the handling with it is a huge part of it. But then next to the view, if you're driving a big load, you're going to want to see it. Like I said, they do have the option to have those cameras on the side. But for me, what makes the biggest difference is by having that big panoramic window up front. It's almost like you're driving an RV. And then whenever you're talking about viewing behind you, you have these great big towing mirrors, and they stick really nice and far out there. You actually have 2 on each side, and so it makes it really great. So you have that visibility, because seeing in front of you is important, but seeing you behind you is also very important as well, because you're talking about towing 40, 45-foot trailers. That's a lot of trailer behind a 26-foot truck. So it's very important to see in front of you, but see behind you. And also the safety, like we were talking about with this truck being heavier duty to begin with, it's going to have more of that weight to handle the weight behind you, but also stopping power. Whenever you're talking about the components on this truck, it's going to be 2 to 3 times larger than a 1-ton. And so it's obviously going to have bigger parts. Bigger parts mean bigger brakes. And so your stopping power is going to be increased probably twicefold, I would say. Whenever I've looked at those 1-ton brakes versus those sport chassis brakes, it's like you're getting the Happy Meal or you're getting a G.I. Joe. It's you know what the real deal is with that. And it's not hard to see. And then for working, one thing I always bring with me when I'm working is a toolbox. And whenever you're working on the road, you need tools. And this truck is already equipped with a air compressor on there. And so with that air compressor, it allows you, if you have a flat tire, on my way here, I had a little flat tire light. And so it wasn't flat, it was getting low. So I could pull in the QT, raise it up real easy. If I had a sport chassis, I could just pull out the hose and do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to make those extra stops because it's already on board with you. Side note with that, with a sport chassis, you actually have multiple air tanks. And so the responsiveness with that, because you have an air ride cab, you have an air ride seat, you have an air ride bed, the responsiveness is going to be super fast. You have one in the rear that's going to handle all of those systems, because that bed will actually raise and lower itself. So if you're hooking up a trailer, you need a little bit of height, raise it up. You need a little drop it down. And so it's going to save you from running in and out, cranking on trailers, moving things. It does a lot of that work for you. So you can have those toolboxes, you can have those air compressors, and it just, like I said, it's going to make it where the working, it's not going to be work. It's going to be more so just doing a task day to day. And as we've repeated time and time again, it's that luxury. Whenever you go into that cab, it's cool. You do have the lights up top. It is pre-wired for the TV. You have top grain leather. It's interesting to me how many high-end trucks don't actually have a top grain high-end leather inside their vehicle. You're going to have that with this truck. You're going to have that very top quality, that very soft, that plush leather, and it's going to be not just in the seats in the front, it's going to be in the back as well, and that actually folds down to be a bed. So if you're on the road and you need an extra,
you can stay in it.
You can stay in it, and that's, for me, that's what's great going rodeo to rodeo, is I can have that horse trailer, but I also have a really nice place to stay in the back, and it's got air conditioning, it's got heating, and thank the Lord for both of those. Whenever you need them, they are a huge blessing. So I always love having that. And so it has that from front to back. You're not going to see any sacrifice in the quality. Whenever you look at the driver's seat, you're going to have over 20 different air controls. A lot of times people skimp off whenever they go over to the passenger seat, and you might get a few less features. That's not the case. You're going to have every single feature that you had in that driver's seat.
Okay, obviously, Willy D, we all want a sport chassis now. Where can we find it?
So you can find them, for one, go to Wade's RV. We have them on the lot every single day of the week.
And that location is?
161st and Highway 75. And that's just one of our multiple locations. That's where you can go every single day and see those sport chassis trucks. We're also going to be opening up in Goldsby here soon. And so we will have Sport Chassis out there as well. We're a big dealer, and we love Sport Chassis just like we love our RVs, and we want to bring them out there to our customers. I actually have a couple actually out there that live in Goldsby, so it'll be really nice if they need servicing or anything. We're going to be able to do that at our store, and it's going to be opening up in March. So it's
and
just
that's near
right
Oklahoma
around,
City, right?
Just about 30 minutes outside of Oklahoma City. And so it's just right around the corner for that opening up, and we'll be able to do servicing. We'll be able to sell RVs there. We're going to have storage. It's going to be almost a carbon copy of what we have here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but out there in Goldsby. So I'm really pumped up and excited about that. And so come on out to see us at Wade's RV, because we do have those Sport Chassis trucks out there. And we have a great price on them, too. Many times people are just blown away whenever they hear this price. They actually start out at about $129,000. And whenever you price out a brand new 1-ton, you're sitting at right around $100,000. And so with the comparison, this truck is going to last you upwards of 1 million miles. And that's not just the truck, that's the engine as well.
And so I'm sitting here all this time, you're telling me and selling me on these Sport Chassis. I'm like, 150, 200,000. So, yeah, you're right. That is an amazing price.
It's an amazing price, and you can take advantage of that for a limited time. Whenever we start rolling out with those 2022 models, the price is going to jump up substantially. So you definitely want to come out and take advantage of these deals today. And you want to deal with someone that obviously is familiar with them. I've been to the factory multiple different times. All the guys there, I've trained them up myself, and they are very familiar with Sport Chassis, and there's a lot of cowboys out there, too. So we're very familiar with it because it's something that we use every day.
Yeah.
We have a saying at Wade's is come buy an RV from someone who actually camps. Buy a Sport Chassis from someone who actually uses them day to day and can tell you those differences. And not only just tell you those differences, but show you those differences as well. So it's really, really nice. I was actually, this is a little bit of a Willy D delivery diaries. So this is a personal experience. I was actually out there in Blanchard, Oklahoma, and I was over there at Trent England's cattle ranch. And so he had his Riverstone that he needed picked up, and it actually was a gooseneck, which all of these Sport Chassis come equipped with a gooseneck ball. And if you don't know what that is, let me go ahead and explain it. So if you've ever seen those cattle trucks and it kind of looks like a elephant nose coming off of that trailer, that's a gooseneck. And then whenever you just see it like a normal semi-trailer, that's a fifth wheel hookup right there. So two different styles of hooking up, but each Sport Chassis already comes with a pre-drilled fifth wheel plate, so if you need to put one of those in there, but it also comes with a really heavy duty gooseneck ball. So Trent, it's been winter time, he's got the cattle feeder in the back, and he wasn't able to bring his unit to Wade's RV. And I keep saying all these Wade's RV sayings. I need to write a book of Wade's RV sayings, but we say we go the extra mile for our customers, and sometimes that's 5 miles, sometimes that's hundreds of miles. I've been down to Texas to deliver units and get units for different customers that there just wasn't any other ones out there. And so Trent gave me a call. He's a good friend of Wade's and myself. And I went down there and I went and picked up his Riverstone. And every time I go down there, I always bring a Sport Chassis for two reasons. It is a little bit of a drive. It takes about 3 hours for me to get down there. But number two, I know he wants one. And so I gotta tease him every once in a while.
So how close are you to getting sold?
He's pretty close. So I hope he's not listening to this. But
find out his favorite color.
I'm working on it. So he likes those black ones. I've had him driving them around, and I actually got his wife to drive it last time. So I'm getting
you are really playing dirty there.
Closer. So hopefully next time maybe I can just bring his trailer and his truck together, drop off the Sport Chassis, and just call it a day.
Yeah, well, you can walk back for that.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. But we got to go down there, and I got to pick up that unit. And the real reason why was, like I said, is the work aspect of it. It made it where it wasn't a job, because that's a 6-hour trip in total. That's almost my entire day. And so I went down there, and I actually had a roping I had to go to after that. So I diverted. It was an extra 2 hours. And so I was on the road all day long in a Sport Chassis. It was very much my office on the road as well. And that's the reason I chose it, is I was going to be in there. I knew it wasn't going to wear me down. I knew I could drive it all weekend and, for one, enjoy it. But then number two, I was pulling a big fifth wheel. I mean, this thing weighs like 16,000 pounds empty. So it was a larger unit. And with that, it's going to have a lot of fuel consumption. If I was driving any other truck, I would have definitely had to grab diesel after driving for 6 hours. With a Sport Chassis, that's not the case. These things are equipped with 160 gallons of fuel.
Wow.
You can go all day and all night on that tank. And that's what makes it super nice and super convenient. I just really love them. And if you are interested in those, you can come and check them out at Wade's RV. And like I said, I have lots of videos. I have the video of that actual factory tour, so you can see that, and you can come and check us out and see exactly what RVs that we have that you might be able to pair with that sport chassis. One thing that people always wonder is, do I need to get a motorhome or do I need to get a trailer and a truck? Well, that's kind of your, option. Is if you want to go on the road full time, you can get a nice RV, and it depends on everyone's different budgets. But if you're talking, right out the gate, brand new diesel, you're talking right about $200,000. You look at a sport chassis and a Riverstone, you're right about that same price. And so you can come and look at those different options and explore those and see exactly what works best for you, because that's what we want at Wade's RV. We really focus on education. We really focus on making sure that you have the right RV, make sure that you find the right products that are really going to fit you, not necessarily just, here's this RV, now get out the door, we'll never see you again philosophy.
We just wanted to sell it to you and forget about you.
That's not the case at Wade's RV, because at Wade's RV, while many places you may pull in and it's just a parking lot full of RVs, we are your full service dealership. There's a reason we are the largest dealership in Oklahoma, and it's because we take all of these different steps. So at Wade's RV, we have sales. Of course, we have 30 of the best brands and hundreds of RVs on the lot, but we also have service. And so with servicing, one thing I'd never seen across the board was, I'd seen a lot of RV dealerships that had paint and body. They might have a shop here where they could, do some woodworking, but they just didn't have all of the pieces. Whenever they needed some chassis work or something done, they'd drive it down to Freightliner. They would, call a mobile repair technician to change the oil. I mean, if you're bringing it to an RV place to change the oil in an RV, I would think that they would be doing it there, but that's not the case everywhere. At Wade's RV, what I found was we do have that paint and body shop. We do have that lift where we can get underneath there and do those jobs to change the oil on generators.
And from what you told me, Wade can get creative when it comes to fixing things.
Yes, I have never yet seen him turn down a job. So the insurance company may turn it down to fix, but I've never seen him turn it down where he cannot. It's been incredible. We've had RVs from Germany. We've had RVs from obviously different RV dealerships. Many places will discriminate on you if you bought your RV somewhere else and you want to get it fixed. Well, guess what? You may have lived in Florida when you bought your RV, and now you live in Oklahoma. You need someone to take care of you, and Wade's RV is going to do that. And that's what I love, is because of that customer service that you're going to find every single day there. So we can fix any type of RV, and part of that is we have the tools, like I said, but we also have those parts. And if you're a DIY person, I love to fix things myself, or at least try to fix it myself, and then sometimes I need to go get some assistance.
Right.
But with that, I actually, in my parts department, for one, I have a parts guy who can help you out. You're not just walking in there blindly looking around. You need some advice. We have those people that can help advise you. Larry, he's a master certified technician. So whenever he retired out of working in the shop, he moved over to the parts department. It was a little bit easier than getting up and down and rolling under. I mean, if you can imagine, it's a very physical job out there. And Larry, he may be getting older, but he's not worn out yet.
And so he has all that knowledge.
Exactly. And so that's why he's over there in that parts department, is because he can help you as a customer find the right parts, so you're not going back to the parts store 3 times, but also he has that expertise, so he can show you how to fix it. So it's not just, here's this water heater core, here you go, see you later. He's actually, hey, this is a little bit of a tip, because he's probably done that job hundreds of times. So he knows, little tips and tricks of the trade, and that's what he's going to be able to show you at our parts location. And we also have, what really completes it all, is that storage. So once you buy your RV, you know where to get it fixed, but you live in a residential neighborhood where you can't keep it.
Right.
Where are you going to keep it? And you can keep it at Wade's RV. We have both indoor and outdoor storage. So if you're looking for the indoor option, we have a couple different locations, like I said. So we're opening up in Goldsby. That's going to have storage. We also have our Sapulpa location, which has storage. And then we also have that Glenpool location, which has storage. So if you're looking for somewhere to put an RV, we got lots of spaces. So you got to come down there and see us for all of those different options.
And that's really nice. And like you said, you've got indoor storage. So in the wintertime, like the storms we just had over this last couple of weeks, you don't have to worry.
You don't have to worry that your RV is going to get cold, that it's going to freeze up. You can actually keep your refrigerator on, and you can keep it warm, because these buildings are insulated. They have garage doors. It makes it super simple. And we have that VIP service. So if you're coming there and you need your RV pulled out, we can make that happen because I have a garage door as well. It's not just you, but Wade's RV has one. So if you need that RV pulled out, get some propane in there, get those tanks emptied, we can help you out with that. And it's just another way that Wade's RV takes that extra step to make sure that their customers are taken care of. Whenever Wade started Wade's RV, that was a huge part, as he wanted to be the best RV dealership, not necessarily the one that sells the most, the one that, pushes out the most units, but the best in all of these different aspects. And that's what you're going to find at Wade's RV. We're located at 161st and Highway 75, just 5 minutes south of Tulsa Hills. Or if you want to shop online, I have the absolute best website there is out there, wadesrv.com. You can buy an RV completely online. You can schedule service appointments. You can even pay for your storage, like what we were talking about. Tons of different options on there, or swing on by the store and see us anytime. We're open 6 days a week. We're open Monday through Saturday. During the week, we're open from 8 until 5. And then on the weekends, we're open from 9 until 5. So you can come out there and see us. And thank you for listening every single Sunday to Camping with Wade's RV. And whenever you go to Wade's RV, ask for Willy D, the guy with the mustache, and I'll help you out.
Will do.